Get her away from my piano. She's blind, she'll ruin it. The angry voice echoed through the beautiful concert hall in Vienna. Everyone turned to look as famous pianist David Cross pointed at an old woman standing near his expensive piano. Mary Johnson was 75 years old. She stood quietly next to the big black piano, holding her white walking stick. Her eyes were cloudy white, she couldn't see anything. She wore a simple blue dress and looked very sad as everyone stared at her. "Sir, she's just looking at the piano," said a worker. "She didn't touch it." Before you watch full story, comment down your country name, I would love to hear. David Cross was very angry. He was 45 years old, rich and famous. He had played piano all over the world. People always clapped for him. He thought he was the best pianist alive. "I don't care," he shouted. "This piano costs $2 million. Keep blind people away from it. They can't see, they'll break it." Mary held her stick tighter. Her face turned red with shame. All the rich people in the hall were looking at her and whispering. She felt very small and hurt. "Ma'am, please go back to your seat," a security guard said nicely. He felt bad for her. "I'm sorry." "I'll go," Mary said in a soft voice. She started to walk away slowly. But then someone in the crowd stood up. It was an old man with white hair. "Wait, Mary? Is that really you?" he called out. Mary stopped. She knew that voice. "Professor Wilson? Is that you?" "Yes." "Everyone listen." Professor Wilson walked to the front. "This woman is Mary Johnson. 50 years ago, she was the most amazing piano player I ever heard." David Cross laughed. "I never heard of her." "That's because she had a car crash when she was 25, Professor Wilson said. "She lost her eyes in that crash. Before that, she was going to be very famous. She was supposed to play at the biggest concert halls in America." Everyone became quiet. Mary's eyes filled with tears as she remembered that terrible day 50 years ago. The car crash. Waking up in the hospital. The doctors telling her she would never see again. Her dreams of being a famous pianist, all gone in 1 second. "She was my best student ever," Professor Wilson continued. "Mary didn't just play piano, she made magic with it." David Cross rolled his eyes. "That's a nice story, but this is a real concert. I don't have time for some old blind woman who probably can't even play anymore." His words were so mean that people in the crowd got angry. Some started booing him. Mary felt something change inside her. For 50 years she had been quiet. For 50 years she had hidden at home, too scared to play piano because it reminded her of everything she lost. But now this rude man was treating her like garbage. "You're right," she said, her voice getting stronger. "I haven't played piano in many years. My fingers are old and stiff. I can't see the keys. I might make mistakes." She started walking toward the piano. "But music never forgets." "This is crazy," David Cross said to his manager. "I won't let some old woman ruin my concert." But Professor Wilson helped Mary up onto the stage. She sat down at the piano bench. It felt strange but also familiar, like meeting an old friend after many years. Mary put her hands on the piano keys. They were cold and smooth. She closed her eyes, not that it mattered since she couldn't see anyway. She listened to the quiet in the room. Then she started to play. At first, her fingers moved slowly. She made a small mistake. David Cross smiled mean and whispered, "See? I told you so." But then something beautiful happened. Mary's hands started to remember how to play. The music began to flow like water. She played a sad but beautiful song that made everyone's heart feel heavy and light at the same time. Mary wasn't just playing notes. She was telling a story. A story about a young girl who loved music more than anything. A story about dreams that got broken. A story about pain and sadness and hope. Every note she played came from her heart. Her old fingers moved faster and faster. The music got louder and more beautiful. Mary's whole body moved with the music. Her face looked young again, like she was 25 years old and full of dreams. People in the crowd started crying. They had never heard anything so beautiful and sad and real. This wasn't just piano playing. This was a woman's whole life story told through music. Even David Cross stopped talking. His mouth hung open as he watched Mary play. In all his years of perfect, fancy playing, he had never made music that touched people's hearts like this. Mary played for 10 minutes. When she finished, the room was completely quiet. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The music seemed to hang in the air like a beautiful ghost. Then Professor Wilson started clapping. He was crying. One by one, everyone else started clapping too. Soon the whole room was standing up, clapping and crying and shouting. The applause was so loud it shook the building. People were screaming, "Amazing! and beautiful, and more. Mary sat at the piano, tears running down her face. She couldn't believe what just happened. David Cross stood at the side of the stage. His manager said, "David, it's your turn to play now." But David looked at the piano, then at Mary, then at all the people still clapping like crazy. He realized that anything he played now would sound fake and empty compared to what Mary just did. For the first time in his life, David Cross walked off the stage without playing a single note. Someone had recorded Mary's performance on their phone. Within 1 hour, the video was shared 1,000,000 times on social media. By the next morning, everyone in the world knew about the blind old woman who played piano so beautifully that she made a famous pianist run away. The headlines were everywhere: 75-year-old blind woman destroys arrogant pianist, and the piano performance that broke the internet, and she couldn't see the keys, but she could see into your soul. TV shows wanted to interview Mary. Record companies wanted to give her contracts. Concert halls begged her to perform. But Mary said no to most of them. She only did one interview with a small TV station. "I don't want to be famous," she said. "I just wanted to play music again. Music is about feelings, not about being perfect or rich." David Cross's career was ruined. People stopped coming to his concerts. They said his playing was cold and fake compared to Mary's. He got so depressed that he quit performing and became a piano teacher for children. Mary went back to her quiet life, but now she played piano again. She performed at small places, churches, old people's homes, community centers. Anywhere people needed to hear beautiful music. She started a school for blind musicians so they wouldn't have to wait 50 years like she did to follow their dreams. Mary also began visiting hospitals to play for sick people. She played at weddings for couples who couldn't afford fancy musicians. She played at funerals to help families say goodbye to their loved ones. "Music is medicine," she would tell people. "It heals hearts that are broken." One day, a little blind girl named Sarah came to hear Mary play. Sarah was only 8 years old and had never seen anything in her whole life. Her parents told her she could never be a musician because she was blind. After Mary's performance, Sarah came up to her with tears in her eyes. "Miss Mary, can blind people really play piano?" she asked. Mary smiled and took Sarah's small hands. "Honey, blind people don't play piano with their eyes. We play with our hearts. And your heart is perfect." Sarah started taking piano lessons the next week. 5 years later, she won a competition for young musicians. She always said Mary Johnson was her hero. Mary received letters from people all over the world. A soldier wrote, "Your music helped me heal from the war." A mother wrote, "My baby stops crying when I play your video." A teenager wrote, "You showed me that being different doesn't mean being less." Mary never became rich or super famous like some musicians. But she became something better. She became hope for millions of people who thought their dreams were dead. Every night before bed, Mary would sit at her old piano at home and play quietly. Not for crowds or cameras or money. She played for the 25-year-old girl inside her who never got to share her music with the world. She played for everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough. "Music doesn't need perfect eyes or perfect hands," she would whisper to herself. "Music just needs a perfect heart." Years later, when Mary was 80 years old, she was invited back to the same concert hall in Vienna where David Cross had been so mean to her. This time they asked her to be the main performer. The hall was packed with 2,000 people. Kings and queens were there. Famous musicians came to watch. But Mary felt most happy when she saw Sarah, now 13 years old, sitting in the front row with her parents. Mary played for an hour that night. She played sad songs and happy songs. She played songs about love and loss and hope and dreams. When she finished, the applause lasted for 10 minutes. But the most beautiful moment came when Sarah joined her on stage. Together, the old blind woman and the young blind girl played a duet that made everyone cry tears of joy. "You see," Mary whispered to Sarah as they played. "We don't need eyes to see beauty. We just need hearts to feel it." After the concert, a reporter asked Mary what she wanted people to remember about her story. Mary thought for a moment, then smiled. "I want them to remember that it's never too late to follow your dreams. And I want them to remember that being different doesn't make you broken, it makes you special." She paused and touched the piano keys one more time. "Most of all, I want them to remember that the most beautiful music comes not from perfect fingers, but from imperfect hearts that refuse to give up." David Cross watched Mary's final concert on TV from his small apartment. He was now a humble piano teacher, working with children who reminded him every day that music was about joy, not just skill. As he watched Mary play, tears ran down his face. He picked up his phone and typed a message, "Dear Mary, I'm sorry for how I treated you. You taught me that music isn't about being the best, it's about touching hearts. Thank you for showing me what real music sounds like. David. Mary never replied to his message, but she didn't need to. Her music had already said everything that needed to be said. Today in the Vienna concert hall where it all began, there's a small sign next to the piano. It says, "Music is not about what you can see, it's about what you can feel." In memory of Mary Johnson, who taught the world to listen with their hearts. And every musician who plays there knows exactly what those words mean. The blind old woman who was mocked and dismissed had done something that no perfect, famous pianist ever could. She had reminded the world that the most powerful music comes from the most honest place. A heart that has been broken but refuses to stop singing. Mary Johnson proved that sometimes the people the world ignores are the ones with the most important stories to tell. And sometimes all it takes is one song to change everything.